Need an extra hand with dinner? Just ask your connected home device to fill your pasta pot, and Delta Faucet Voice IQ technology will fill it with the perfect amount of water. Visit deltafaucet.com/voice IQ to discover more.
Hey, Merrymakers! Scottsdale, Arizona is turning up the heat this holiday season in more ways than one. From November through New Year's, Scottsdale is ablaze with festive holiday light displays, spicy Southwestern cuisine, and sun-filled days that are perfect for Sonoran desert hikes, championship golf, poolside lounging, alfresco dining, and more. Visit holidaysinscottsdale.com for seasonal offers, including hotel rates from $90 per night. That's holidaysinscottsdale.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. We're going to bounce away from the Jeffrey Berman firing for a second, and we're going to talk about the new report in The Sun about Ghislaine Maxwell and how she is supposedly hiding out in Paris. Now, I've said several times on this podcast, I really have no idea where this lady could be at this point. But one thing I am sure of, the FBI and the authorities most certainly know where she is. It's not like she's a Lamist, right? She's like she's Michael Corleone in The Godfather, and she's hiding out with the mafia dons in Italy. Of course not. That's not the case. She's being hidden by other members of so-called polite society, people she probably has some dirt on, or incredibly scummy people who are just like her. And could that possibly be in Paris? Absolutely. I have no clue. I don't have any source that tells me one way or the other where she is. I have no idea. But I will say this. Anyone who thinks that the federal authorities in the United States has no idea where she is, well, you're wrong. They know where every single person is. That's how invasive their surveillance has become. That's how invasive their metadata collection has become. They know every keystroke you make on your computer, every message you send, everything you say gets caught up in their metadata net. Why do you think they hate Edward Snowden so much? So to think that the authorities had no idea where Maxwell is, that's naive. Now, for the rest of us who are following the case, sure, all of us have some speculation and some guesses, and, maybe even a few people who have got some tips about where she's hiding. That's quite possible as well. But what I will say is this. Color me skeptical about Ghislaine Maxwell hiding in Paris as of now. I haven't read the article yet, but from where I'm sitting, I just don't think that she'd be hiding in Paris like this. But again, let's check the article out and see what it has to say. This article is from The Sun. The headline, Laying Low, Jeffrey Epstein's madam, co-conspirator, abuser of girls, Ghislaine Maxwell hiding out in luxury Paris flat minutes from pedophile's £7 million pad. That sounds pretty convenient, huh? The authors of the article, Paul Sims and Emma James. Maxwell, one of the world's most wanted women, fled to France, where she was born to avoid questions in the U.S. by the FBI over her links to the late disgraced billionaire pedophile. So, that's a pretty bold statement and pretty upfront, and I guess they're saying that she is definitely in France? Is that what they're trying to say here in The Sun? Again, look, I think The Sun has done some good work here with the Jeffrey Epstein case and covering Prince Andrew, etc., etc., but I'm going to need some more evidence than just them coming out and saying this. I'm going to need to see a source or something a little more concrete. Now, I will say this. It's quite possible that she is in Paris, and they're 100% correct about this. But with the way Ghislaine Maxwell conducts herself and with the way she uses the media, do you think it would be past her to put out some false information like this? Especially during such a time of change within the SDNY, to try and muddy the waters a little bit more, to try and stumble the investigation a little bit more? Maybe I'm just cynical, but at this point, I feel like Ghislaine Maxwell is still playing chess while some of these mofos are playing checkers. And for all of her disgusting faults, we can't underestimate how shrewd and how cunning she is. And if we do that, and if we fall for her gaslighting and her use of the media, then we're never going to get to the bottom of her story. Because every time the room starts to get hot with Ghislaine Maxwell, you see a story pop up in the Sun or elsewhere to try and deflect from what else is going on. And that's what you see here. All of a sudden, Ghislaine Maxwell's in Paris. A 58-year-old who vanished from public life in 2016 moved into her secret bolt hole on Avenue Matignon, I can't pronounce this word, Mitignon in Paris's exclusive 8th arrondissement to remain undetected. So she moved into this pad on 8th arrondissement to remain undetected, but she was detected anyway. Look, already it doesn't make sense to me, and already I have my doubts. Now, do I have a plausible alternative on where she could be to offer you? Unfortunately, I do not. But something about this just does not sit right with me. The whole situation in France seems to be like a misdirection, and I don't see it. I don't see her hanging out in this exclusive area in Paris, especially right now. The luxurious property is linked to a millionaire business contact based in Normandy who offered to let her use it while the global hunt for her continued. Okay, so who's the millionaire business contact? You see, they're doing a lot of could-be's and would-be's, and they're inferring about this person or that person, but there's no concrete information here, right? There's no source that has been named, and there are no pictures. So we're just going off of what the Sun is saying here. And I'm not saying the Sun is being duplicitous. I'm not saying that they're trying to lie here. They probably have a source that is telling them this. My question is that source believable? And it is only a 5-minute drive along the Champs-Élysées to Epstein's vast apartment on Avenue Foch, which was raided by French cops last September. So I remember when it was raided, and we talked about when it was raided, but they never said what they found there. Did they find any evidence? What's the deal? See, I don't know much about France at all. Besides French history and reading about, the creation of France and Charlemagne, etc., I really have no idea about their laws or how any of this stuff works over there. So my question is, they raided this place in September. What did they find? We've never heard un gats about what has been found in that raid, if they found anything. Maxwell, who was a long-term friend of the Duke of York, was spotted on Avenue Matignon in the days before France announced its COVID-19 lockdown in March. She was spotted, huh? What is she, Bigfoot? Oh, we saw her. We got a foot imprint, and we put in some of that plaster, and we took an imprint of the foot, but we can't show you any pictures. Just take our word for it. It was definitely the most elusive Ghislaine Maxwell. Come on, guys. I don't know if I buy this. I just don't know if I can buy this right now. Everything, you know what? I'm at the point where I have to see it to believe it in this case. And unless there are pictures, I'm going to need to see those pictures, because unless we have them, I'm going to lean towards the fact that I don't believe that she is in Paris. She remained in Paris during the virus crisis and hopes to benefit from her status as a French citizen to avoid extradition should she face any criminal charges in the U.S. Well, she can try. But the amount of pressure that will be put on the French to turn her over will be massive. Absolutely, positively massive. A source said Ghislaine is moving locations every month to keep private investigators off her tail and is staying at the residences of trusted colleagues and contacts. So She's not just at that apartment like was just said. She's moving around still, so she's just in that apartment recently. Something doesn't add up here, folks. Something does not add up here, and it seems to me to be more disinformation by Ghislaine Maxwell herself. Manipulating the media cycle, manipulating the story, and trying to throw people off of her trail. That's what I'm getting from this so far. Didn't want to be recognized. She wants to remain in France for as long as she can to take advantage of extradition laws and has a huge network of contacts willing to keep her hidden. Under French law, anyone born on French soil is safe from extradition to another country regardless of the alleged crime. Yeah, okay. Look, they could say this all they want, right? And it might even be the truth. But the fact of the matter is, if the federal government of the United States is looking to snatch you up, you are going to get snatched up. The only way that she stays in France is if the United States government is complicit in that action. It doesn't mean she won't be prosecuted for her links to Epstein, but if she does end up facing charges, it will be in France and not the U.S. You see that? The source is trying to frame it like that. The source is trying to state that, put it out there into the public sphere to make it real, to make it be the truth. In reality, none of that's going to happen. I don't even think Macron would protect her at this point. You want to talk about nuclear fallout? You want to talk about one of the worst human beings running around on the planet right now? I highly doubt anybody in the public sphere is going to touch her if there is any chance some of that nuclear radiation is going to rub off on their fingers. Now, if they can help her behind the scenes, I am sure all of her high society pals are going to do that. As the source says here, they are already doing that. But you can run, Ghislaine, and you can hide, but eventually your time's going to be up. Maxwell, who is accused of procuring underage girls for Epstein, emerged from her bolt hole on a number of occasions, each time with a scarf wrapped tightly around her face to conceal her identity. So how did you find her then? How did you know it was her? Can we see some pictures? Nobody has cell phones over there in France? It's like the Bigfoot investigators. We saw Bigfoot, bro. We saw him. So you get pictures? Nah, my camera was dead. Okay. She strolled past sprawling Avenue Matignon's upper markets, art galleries, and top-end restaurants and cafes, which include Posh Market, La Berkeley, and La Bristol. One local said she was here just before France announced its coronavirus lockdown. She rarely went out, but when she did, she wore a large patterned blanket which she pulled tightly around her face and draped across her shoulders. She clearly didn't want to be recognized and was able to blend in. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. So the locals are just all in tune and they all know who Ghislaine Maxwell is in the middle of a pandemic. They're like, oh yeah, that's Ghislaine Maxwell. She was wearing the rug over her face. Sorry. None of this is adding up to me. This all seems like misdirection. And folks, I am not buying it. But she was wearing her distinctive gold sovereign ring on her left hand and a larger, glitzier ring on her right. So we all know what kind of ring she's wearing. Average people in France they know the jewelry setup for Ghislaine Maxwell. Come on, man. No one's buying this, right? People are really buying this? I mean, again, I appreciate the work the Sun has done here, but this is tabloid-esque this is top-notch tabloid work here. Others claim to have seen her walking away from the Israeli embassy, a fortified glass building guarded 24 hours a day by armed guards at checkpoints at either end of the street, with undercover Mossad agents patrolling regularly. All right, there you go. That seals it for me. That right there seals it for me. This is obviously some nonsense. Obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell either playing misdirection games or someone muddying the waters. Very convenient that she was seen walking away from the Israeli embassy, right, folks? That sure does feed a lot of confirmation bias. I don't buy any of this. Sorry, folks. I went into this not buying any of it, really, but now I certainly don't buy any of it. Maxwell's closeness to the embassy is likely to fuel conspiracy theories about who is protecting her. Well, let's remember, okay? Ben Menashe said that it was Israeli military intelligence, not the Mossad. So, I'm sure the Mossad has a part. But let's not just get caught up in that. Let's not just get caught up in trying to pin this all on the Mossad or all on Israeli intelligence. We have our own boogeyman right here in our own backyard, folks. And if you're an American, we should be worried about cleaning up our own backyard before we're worried about cleaning up anybody else's. And from where I'm sitting, the trash in our backyard is the CIA. So we need to focus on that and not get caught up in all the other minutiae. It has been claimed she was a foreign intelligence asset working for Israel, where her late father, the disgraced media mogul Robert Maxwell, is buried. Safe haven. She spent time on a kibbutz there after leaving school, has a good network of contacts, and is rumored to have been offered safe haven there. Okay, so that's very vague. A rumor from who? Who is the source of this rumor, and why aren't they noted here in the article? Let's talk to the source. Her exact whereabouts remain a mystery, but she is said to be determined to stay in Paris. Okay, so at first she was at this suite by Jeffrey Epstein's, but now, go down in the article a little bit further, and her whereabouts remain a mystery? Which one is it? Folks, this is classic disinformation here. Do not buy this. From where I'm sitting, in my opinion, this is a classic example of disinformation. She first vanished when prosecutors began re-examining hundreds of criminal complaints against her former boyfriend, co-conspirator, partner, intelligence asset friend, Epstein, in the autumn of 2016. The Sun has offered a $10,000 reward to anyone who can provide information which directly results in us successfully making contact with her in person. There you go, right there. The whole story's BS. The Sun hasn't provided this reward yet, so who is this source that's talking all this nonsense? I knew this was going to be BS when I got the article sent to me last night. I knew this was going to be disinformation. Ghislaine Maxwell is once again stirring the pot. Ghislaine Maxwell is once again trying to add to the confusion, and she figured what better time to do that than when the Southern District of New York is in disarray. You got to read between the lines, folks. You have to see what's going on here with this lady. The last public sighting was said to have been last August when she was apparently photographed at Los Angeles fast food joint In-N-Out Burger reading about reading a book about CIA spies. Wait a minute, I thought she was just seen with a rug around her head. They're contradicting themselves in the article. It's absolutely hilarious what's going on here. Folks, don't buy this nonsense. Please do not buy this. But the pictures taken just days after Epstein committed suicide in jail were later exposed as photoshopped fakes. Their metadata, or embedded digital information, was said to bear the word Meadowgate, which is also the name of a company whose president, Leah Safian, is a close friend of Maxwell's. The search then switched to America's East Coast with a reported sighting of her in affluent Manchester-by-the-Sea, Massachusetts. It was said she had been living with her then-lover, Scott Borgerson, at his secluded £2.2 million seafront home situated on a private road. Now, why isn't anybody at Scott Borgerson's house asking him where Ghislaine Maxwell is, getting him on record? If he's the last person that we know that she was cohabitating with, don't you think that would be a proper place to start? Don't you think if the legacy media really cared the way they say they do, that they would be all over this? According to neighbors, Maxwell went by the initial G rather than her distinctive first name and would take her dogs for walks along the beach. Mr. Borgerson later insisted Maxwell was not at his home, describing her as a former friend. The trail also went cold in the south of France, where her sister Christine owned a sprawling mansion in the pretty province town of Marieulles. And we know that that was BS. We know that the sources for that were shoddy at best, right? I called that from the jump, told you that that was BS, and I had the same feeling here. In fact, it might even be the same sort of sources. The property was sold 2 years ago, and the new owners and neighbors have not seen the Maxwell sisters since. Not even Maxwell's own lawyers know her exact location. I think that's a lie as well. I think her lawyers, Menninger and the rest, know exactly where they are, but they're hiding her. She communicates with them only via email. Lawyer for Epstein survivors hired private investigators to try to find her and have had issued writs at a number of addresses worldwide without success. And that just goes to show you that Ghislaine Maxwell is being hidden by very powerful, very connected people. And then we must ask ourselves, why are they hiding her? What do they have to gain? What do they have to lose? And ultimately, how are we ever going to uncover her whereabouts? The FBI also wants to quiz Maxwell over her links to Epstein, whose crimes have been detailed in the Netflix documentary Filthy Rich, and here on the Jeffrey Epstein Show every single day, most times 2 times a day, since October. It is claimed she also introduced Prince Andrew to Virginia Roberts. Yeah, that's not a claim, that's fact in my opinion. Roberts has accused Maxwell of recruiting her to work as Epstein's masseuse when she was 15. That alone, right there, that fact alone, should have Maxwell buried underneath a prison. Never mind all of the other nonsense she was involved in. Never mind the fact she was abusing kids. This alone should put her underneath Guantanamo Bay. She claims Maxwell directed her to give erotic massages and engage in sexual activities with Prince Andrew, a.k.a. the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, and others, and says she had sex with the royal 3 times, including 1 orgy. The first encounter allegedly took place in Maxwell's London home when Virginia was 17. In April, Epstein accuser Maria Farmer, now 50, filed a sworn affidavit alleging she and her 15-year-old sister were sexually abused by Epstein and Maxwell in 1996. And let's not forget, the sworn affidavit, all of this with Maria and Annie was in the mid-90s. And Maria came forward and ratted all of these mother effers out. And what happened? Maria had to live like she did something wrong, like she was a convict, or like she was being chased by the law. She was moving from place to place, never knowing who was following her, never knowing if and when one of these 2-bit players were going to show up and make good on Ghislaine Maxwell's promise to hurt her. And meanwhile, the FBI, the police, everybody sat around twiddling their thumbs while Epstein went on his rampage of disaster and disgustingness. She claimed Maxwell acted as a madam driving around New York plucking young women off the streets supposedly to become models, only to take them to be abused by Epstein and his pals. And we've all heard the stories from Maria, the chilling tales, and we all know how credible they are. The fact that the article here only touches on a little bit of it tells you all you need to know. The FBI raided Epstein's £60 million New York mansion and arrested him on July 6 last year. Then on August 10th, he was found hanged in his cell in an apparent suicide while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges, allegedly. Epstein's Paris pad was raided just days later, and the city's chief prosecutor announced he was opening a probe after U.S. investigators identified links to France. Yeah, that worked out well. French is really good at pursuing this, huh? Yeah, you know, they really care about this sort of thing. How's Roman Polanski doing? The offices of modeling agency Karen Models, which is owned by Epstein, former pal Jean-Luc Brunel, and is near Maxwell's latest hideaway, were also searched. And again, we've heard nothing about that. If anyone out there speaks French and they have some news articles that they can translate and send my way about what they might have found during those raids, I would sure love to read them. Then, in November, Prince Andrew, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, stepped down as a senior royal after a disastrous Newsnight interview which questioned his relationship with Epstein. His relationship with Epstein, huh? No, more than that. Again, what he did to Virginia Roberts is the real problem here, folks. The prince had hoped it would clear the air, but the exchanges with BBC presenter Emily Maitlis were later described as a car crash. During the interview, Andrew said he would help the U.S. investigation if his legal advice was to do so. No, that's not exactly what he said. He said he would help any investigation that was proper. But in January, Jeffrey Berman, the U.S. attorney leading the Epstein inquiry, not anymore, said the Duke had provided zero cooperation. The prince could now be forced to appear in a British court to answer New York prosecutors' questions about his billionaire pedophile pal after the U.S. Department of Justice invoked the terms of a legal treaty with Britain in an attempt to question the royal as a witness. And that was the MLA that we've talked about. And again, remember, they bypassed Buckingham Palace and went straight to the Home Office with that request. So what they're trying to do is pin him down to have a talk, but we all know that they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that that doesn't happen. It's going to take a forceful prosecutor at the SDNY, I know, we're asking for a whole lot, to get this ball rolling in the right direction. The DOJ made its formal request to the Home Office bypassing Buckingham Palace, but Andrew, 60, has so far refused to talk to prosecutors investigating Epstein's historic sex trafficking network. The prince has always strenuously denied any wrongdoing. Well, guess what? Deny all you want. We don't believe you, okay? And you know what else I don't believe, folks? The conclusion that I come to after reading this article? I don't believe that Ghislaine Maxwell is hiding in France. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. Inside the description box, you will find the link to the article, and you will also find a link to the GoFundMe if you would like to help out the podcast. All right, everybody, enjoy your Sunday, and to all the dads out there, especially my best friend, my amazing father, happy Father's Day, guys. Please enjoy your day. You have all earned it.
The care that helps you be the best you just got stronger. Healthcare Partners is now Optum, and our doctors are advancing a simple idea that your healthcare can be more personalized, more compassionate, and more convenient. Healthcare Partners is now Optum. Healthcare made stronger. To learn more, visit Optum.com/California or click the ad. Optum and Optum Care are trademarks of Optum Incorporated.
Between prepping ingredients, setting the table, and planning your tomorrow, sometimes you need an extra hand with dinner. Delta Faucet is here to help. Just ask your connected home device to fill your pasta pot with Delta Faucet Voice IQ technology and fill it with the perfect amount of water. Done. Visit deltafaucet.com/voiceIQ to see how Voice IQ can fill your dog's bowl, wash your hands, and more.